Welcome back to the Anglotopia podcast. It's been a while since you've seen us together. I've been doing a bunch of interviews this summer with quite a few interesting people, which you can see in the podcast feed or on our YouTube channel.
Yep.
Interviewed some authors, interviewed some writers, interviewed some people who run travel companies, wide range of people, and they've turned out. We even interviewed a guy that owns a castle.
Yeah, that's very cool.
So highly recommend checking those out. They're
Yeah.
a lot of fun. And we've got more fun guests planned as the year goes on. Our plan is to release something almost every week with small hiatuses in between. But from going forward, the podcast is a primary focus for us. So, and occasionally we will pop in and do an episode or two as well to switch things up. So. This week, we're going to talk about how to have a great transatlantic travel experience. Not all the bits in England. We're going to talk about getting there.
Yeah, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Now, we've traveled together at least 20 times over the last 25 years. So transatlantic flights have been old hat to us at this stage. So we have lots of kind of rituals and tips and tricks that we use to make it bearable.
And we've done it at different stages of our lives too.
Yes.
I've done it, before we were married together, and then traveled pregnant, which is in itself its own adventure, and then traveled with infants and children, and now, well, not quite just us, but it's
they're not invited on the next trip.
Anyway,
so we're gonna sort of talk about how you can have a good transatlantic flight, because it can be daunting for some people. A lot of people are afraid to fly.
It's true.
And it
hasn't gotten any easier, I would argue. I know that's probably a controversial thing to say, but
air travel is very stagnant experience-wise. The planes are the same speed as they were 20 years ago. They're not getting any faster anytime soon. So everybody takes the same amount of time to get everywhere they're going. And the passenger experience hasn't really changed if you're an economy like most of us. And we'll talk about other classes in a little bit, because we have flown all the classes over the 25 years from various opportunities and experiences we've had. And so we kind of know what it's like to fly at the front of the plane and the back of the plane.
Yep.
But
at the end of the day, the plane is all going to the same destination.
It's all going to the same place, and it's taking you to England, which is what the purpose of this podcast and this business is. All things English. So,
So, why don't I pour the tea? And I know you've got some updates that you want to share with the audience. And what tea are we drinking today?
We're drinking Cornish tea today.
Yes.
Our old standby.
Like it.
Which we are sold out of in the Anglotopia store.
Oh, no.
And I suspect we're going to say sold out for the foreseeable future, simply because you can now buy Cornish tea on Amazon.
Yes, but when you buy it on Amazon, you're not supporting your favorite British website.
But it's very hard to compete with the world's richest man on price.
Well, then you buy on principle when you can.
So we're probably not going to restock till it is here early next. And we'll put a link in the show notes to the Amazon page where you can find it. I know it hurts. It hurts.
Free advertising.
It hurts.
Oh, the richest man in the world can afford his own advertising. No offense to the richest man in the world. Although, is he the richest man in the world?
It goes back and forth between him and Elon.
Okay, well, let's not even talk about that.
So a few things to update on Anglotopia. It has been a very busy summer for Anglotopia. And as Anglotopia has been a new focus for me this year, as we talked about, I am shipping things as quickly as possible with new features, new opportunities, new everything on Anglotopia. And so keeping the train running. So 3 of the big things I want to talk about today real quick, because I could easily talk about spend the whole podcast talking about
I feel like
these
I need
things.
a buzzer for you. Next.
So the first thing is the biggest thing, which is we launched the Friends of Anglotopia Club back in June. And we have a whole podcast about that, which I'll link to in the show notes. But basically, our goal over the next year is to eventually remove the Google ads from Anglotopia. And to do that, we need people to subscribe to our club so that we can make up the revenue loss from removing the ads. And by joining the club, You get the Sunday Post, which is a lovely little article every Sunday in your inbox that
Sorry
gives
if
you a cup
you're
of tea to.
listening, you can hear the teacup on the
And
table.
it's I've been publishing it every week since June, and it's been a great way to share a lovely article about an experience we've had, about a place we've been, about an interesting aspect of British culture, and it's stuff that we're not publishing on the main website yet. So you read it first in the club. And you also get access to the podcast early. So we release the podcast to the club on Wednesdays instead of Friday for everybody else. And the biggest super cool thing that just launched last week is the private chat room and forum that we launched at anglotopia.chat. And so it's only accessible by members of the club. And it's a place to talk about all things British history, travel, and culture in a safe space away from the rest of the internet. It's completely private, except it's moderated. No one is allowed to join unless they're a member of the club or one of us.
Yep.
And so far we've had some great discussions about what is everybody binging right now on British TV, what are people planning for their next trips, and it's really neat. It combines a forum discussion environment with chat rooms like on a Slack channel, so you can have so eventually, like when there's a live event going on, we'll live update in the chat forum instead of like on social media or somewhere else. And so the Friends of Anglotopia Club, will put a link in the show notes. Please join. It costs $6 a month or $64 a year. Most people sign up for a year. That seems to be the most popular option. And so far, we're at 103 members at my last count, which is a great, strong start. We need to get to 300 members to remove the ads from Anglotopia. So we're a third of the way there. So we're ahead of schedule. I think hopefully later this year or early next year, we'll reach our 300 member target. So please join. It costs just the same amount as 2 cups of tea, and you get to support great quality writing about British travel, history, and culture. And pretty soon we'll be launching a monthly feature article from an outside writer. And I'm getting off track.
Come on, just
this is what
back
happens.
on track. They want to hear about transatlantic travel.
Next thing, the Bridgerton book is finally out. I'm holding it up for people watching the YouTube video.
Oh my goodness, it's a miracle.
The World of Bridgerton, Anglotopia's guidebook to the Georgian and Regency era. So it's not a guide to the show. It's a guide to the historical period that inspired the show. So if you watch the show and you're curious about the historical context and the way things are, customs and culture and all that, this book is your guide. It's just over 200 pages. It covers, what is the different titles. It covers culture.
What a great gift for, the Bridgerton fan in your life.
Yes.
Because, can you imagine being able to watch the show and going, oh, did you know this is why they bow or they curtsy to so-and-so? It's a neat one. It will make a great stocking stuffer, too.
So it is
super fun.
It's a nice little book. It's compact.
Yeah.
It will fit in a stocking.
See, it fits in a stocking. That's what I'm saying.
It costs $19.99 from booksellers. From us, you can get it on Amazon. You can get it from us. You can get the ebook. There's an there's not an audio version, so take that back. And you can enjoy all things Bridgerton in this lovely little book. So it's been a brisk seller so far, so we're very pleased that I finally got it done.
It's been a labor of love for you.
Yeah. So
it's been a very long time in the making.
And in a few weeks, we will be launching another book, which will be a guidebook, which is a return to form for our guidebooks. So it's about Oxford.
Well, we'll talk about that then. So
we'll do a podcast about that then.
Transatlantic travel.
Wait.
No, oh my God.
We got to talk about the calendars.
Oh, okay.
I can't.
I'm sorry, guys.
So for 2025, after a break last year, because we couldn't find a printer who could print calendars, we have brought back the Anglotopia and Londontopia calendars for 2025. We're taking pre-orders now. We're ordering a very limited print run because of the cost to print. And at last checking, we're very close to selling out. So please, this is one of our most important fundraisers for the website for the year. It funds a lot of our operating costs, hosting, email, all the wonderful things we have to pay for to run this business. And so if you could buy the calendar, there you'll have 13 lovely pictures on your wall every month, from our archive of over 100,000 pictures. You'll have US and UK holidays, so you can keep up with both sides of the pond. and it's 9 by 12 this year. And then will look nice on your wall. And unfortunately, the launch pricing has ended, so they cost $24.99. And you can order them now at the store, and I will put the link in the show notes. And that is the last Anglotopia update I will make.
Okay.
So now we can talk about transatlantic travel 10 minutes into the podcast. Transatlantic travel tips.
Yes. Where do you want to start? Do you want to like we're assuming you've bought the ticket or you're getting ready to buy the ticket. So this is not about how to buy a ticket.
Yeah, why don't we talk about classes? You want to talk about classes?
I was going to say we should start about time of flight, but
okay.
I mean, if you want to start with the classes, we can. It's up to you.
Yeah, so like I mentioned in the introduction, we've had the opportunity to travel in all classes.
Through the generosity of others.
Yeah,
we should like.
Yeah, we have not. We did not when we flew first class. We did not pay for it. It was provided for us by an advertising partner.
Very graciously provided for us.
So
which we're always open to.
Yeah, we're always open to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I guess we'll start at the front of the plane and go back.
Yikes.
So and actually first class isn't available on a lot of transatlantic flights anymore. It depends on the route and the plane if you're going to have a first class. But usually the features of first class are lie flat beds and your own kind of private cabin and, you know, great service. And when we did it,
incredible service. And is it, I don't know, I guess it depends on your carrier and that kind of thing, but the carrier we flew, like the food, I don't think it was cooked to order, but it was
pretty fresh.
It was gorgeous. Like it
not typical airplane food.
No.
I had steak at 30,000 feet. It was great. First class is very expensive.
It's outrageously expensive. At least for us. I know we recognize that not everybody is in the same position, and
yeah, I don't know that I would even pay for first class if I was rich. A lot of people get in first class through their miles programs.
That's a lot of miles.
But I mean, you're looking at $10,000 to $15,000 to fly in first class. When you know, and usually when you go first class, there's a separate first class lounge that's separate from the business class lounge, and you get a little more personal attention and like a first name basis with the people in the room.
Very exclusive.
Very exclusive. It's an interesting feeling.
It's an experience. It's meant to be a very comfortable, you know, it's just a whole different experience.
And you were pregnant when you went first class, and so that they were very, very generous and caring to her when they found out she was pregnant because she was not well.
No, I have never been airsick in my life, and I found out on my first time flying pregnant that when I fly pregnant, I get airsick, and it's pretty ugly. And not that that's ever pretty, but our flight back, I got sick on the flight going, and then coming back, we had a first class ticket, and which was incredible. I was so excited, and I was really, we took a late afternoon flight coming back to the States, and I was so excited to experience that, but I was really battling some horrible, horrible morning sickness as well, and, it was almost painful. I mean, because like the cheese menu with all the lovely soft cheeses and the wine list, oh, I could have cried. It was so beautiful. And they kept coming by and asking me like, would you like a pre-dinner drink? And would you like, and so finally I didn't want to be rude. So I just had to say, oh, I would love to, but I'm expecting. And then I think probably every 30 to 45 minutes, somebody came by and was like, would you like a warm blanket? Do you need any more water? They were incredible. The service, they took such wonderful care of me. And thankfully, I did not end up airsick coming back. I ended up going to the pharmacy in London, and they gave me something called C-bands. They're the wearable, we didn't have anything like that here yet, and I was like, I don't know about this, but they worked, and the great care that we received, and I would love to have the opportunity to do it again. If somebody if somebody partnered, because that's not realistic for us in our where we are to be able to experience that again, not pregnant. I think that feeling fine and fresh and happy, and that would be incredible, but they took such excellent care of us, and it was just a lovely experience. And you get that the little first class like dop kit
Yeah.
or like I don't know what they call it, but it's got like lovely things in it from the white company in a little bag, and it was just it was lush. Oh, and jammies.
Yeah, you
Remember
get the jammies. Yeah.
the British Airways jammies? So which was fun. But anyway,
Anyway, so and then the next class is business class, which is the one that you always have to walk through to get to
business
the
and
rest of
me
the
are
plane.
besties.
Yeah, we've flown business class a few times. A couple times they were provided by partners. A couple times we got a really cheap upgrade. Like when you checked in, it says you can upgrade for this amount of money, and you're like, I can handle that.
Well,
Or
because
miles.
there's a strategy for
Yeah.
us when we fly business because it's yes, who would not like to I mean, why would you not like to fly business because in most cases you get lie flat as well
Yeah.
seats, and we don't fly business unless number 1 there's some sort of partnership or deal, or number 2 the times where we've actually paid out of pocket, which are very few, is if we have meetings when we land in
Yeah.
country like that morning, because it's
It's making you're buying that time back.
right, you have to try and get so which kind of leads into time.
Yeah.
We always try and take the last or the latest flight
Mm.
out of Chicago when we travel to London,
Yeah.
and we do that strategically. So to kind of trick our body clocks into thinking it's overnight.
Yeah.
And we'll share more tips
Yeah, we'll
about
get
how
there
to
in a
do
sec.
that, but it's really when you've got to hit the ground running the next morning, and I mean 4 hours of sleep, 5 hours of sleep is better than no sleep. So,
And then
yeah.
the strategy is that coming back on a daytime flight, we wouldn't upgrade to business
No,
class
because we don't need the sleep.
because we don't need to sleep. We can just sit there and watch our iPads
Yeah.
for the flight home, which we'll get to. Business class is great. You usually get a lovely meal. You get to lie flat bed. You get a little bit of a private cabin.
I don't even eat the meal. I just go to sleep, which is a waste. Ugh, so sad.
And I I did business class in 2022 when I went,
Mm-hmm.
and it was lovely.
Yeah.
But again, business class is very expensive. It's like
Yeah.
$5,000 to $7,000 depending on when you're going.
Exactly.
And so you're better off booking a premium economy or coach ticket and then waiting for them to offer affordable upgrades, and sometimes we've been at the airport and there will be a sign that says you can upgrade to business class for this amount of money, and you're like, I can handle that. Because if you think about it like the cost of a hotel room. That if it's the cost of a hotel room to upgrade, that's worth it because you're going to get a much better night's sleep, and you're going to gain that whole day when you get there rather than being jet lagged all day.
Well, but important to mention though, if you need a business class seat, if you have a health condition where you have to lay flat or that kind of thing, you are better off kind of biting the bullet if you're able to and booking. Do not assume that you will just get the chance, because if they sold the plane out, the seat you paid for is the seat you're going in.
They usually try to pack those planes, so
Exactly.
And then the next class that most transatlantic airlines have is premium economy. British Airways calls it World Traveler Plus, and it's a bigger seat. There's less seats going across, and you get more leg room. We've done that quite a bit. Usually because it's not that much more than economy. Lately it seems like it's a lot more. So that's and on British Airways in premium economy you get the business class meal.
Yeah.
Which is a nice perk because then you get steak basically.
Oh wow.
Or roast. It's nice.
Well, and you're a tall guy.
Yeah.
I mean, like look at the two of us next to each other. Oh, we're both in black today.
One died, we're just in black.
But first class died. No, I'm kidding. But for you to sit in a coach seat, like I'm classified as petite. Oh yeah, there's somewhere on top. I know that's like so wrong, but it's cooling very quickly. But the point I'm trying to make is that when, I'm tight in a coach seat.
Yeah.
And so sitting next to him in a coach seat, and usually it's depending on the plane configuration, I've got somebody on the other side of me because he always takes the aisle.
Claustrophobic, which we'll get to.
Anyway, yeah. So let's talk about coach then.
Yeah, so coach is what most people are, the milk, please, sorry. What most people are likely to be in, and that's where we're flying in October for our trip, our business trip. We're being coach, and that's kind of where the advice in this episode will kind of be
Yeah.
focused on, because that's
Because
where
we
most of us are gonna be.
recognize exactly is that most folks, I mean, let's be honest, a plane ticket, whether you're in coach or wherever you choose to fly in the plane tickets are not cheap.
No,
And so it doesn't, there's no shame in going in coach. Like I said, the plane all goes to the same destination.
Yep.
It's about getting there. And when you move up in the plane, it's just about comfort on your journey. So
yeah, it just improves
the experience.
the experience for
Yeah.
you. And
So
at the end of the day, you're not going to remember the flight. You're going to remember the experiences you had when
well,
you
you
get there.
hope you don't
You don't remember the flight. I mean, we had some pretty memorable flights, but hopefully the experiences you have on your trip are the memories you take.
And I think think about when we started traveling transatlantically versus now. Think about all of the incredible things that have like noise canceling headphones and compression socks and ear masks and fancy neck pillows, and like none of that, like when we started traveling, that really wasn't a thing. None of that was really a thing.
Yeah. And so that kind of leads into tip number 2, which is the timing of your flight. So
yes, this is so important.
This is very important, yeah, because it also depends on which city you're coming from. So we fly out of Chicago, which there are direct flights from Chicago to London. And then there's like 7 or 8 flights a day between American Airlines and British Airways. If you add United in, there's probably 10 or 11.
Yeah.
And then LA's got even more transatlantic flights a day.
New
York practically has an hourly flight to London.
And then Florida, right? Florida and Houston.
And Atlanta. And so, but all of them are going to be about the same amount of time lengthwise. You're going to vary between 7 to 12 hours.
Yeah.
Between the East Coast and the West Coast. Well, East Coast, sometimes it's like 5 or 6 hours, depending on the trade winds. Like you can get there really fast. So, but our perspective, as we're coming from Chicago, that's
Central Time Zone.
That's what we've done the most, and so that's kind of where our advice is kind of focused on.
Yeah.
And we recommend taking the latest flight you can.
Yes.
For several reasons.
So the first, and I think the biggest one, is you're going to make a big time jump.
Yeah.
And I have found that the best way, because the jet lag can be pretty brutal, especially if you've never experienced it before. So I'm pretty sure everybody knows what jet lag is, but if you don't, basically your inner clock is really confused. Like you're awake when you should be asleep, and it's like it makes sleeping really hard, and then you're drowsy. Anyway, so my pro tip is we take the latest flight out. We have dinner in the airport before we go. But we'll talk more about food in a little bit. And then once we're like wheels up and we're off the ground, that's it. I'm going to bed. Like good night, like headphones on, like whole 9 yards. Wake me up when we get to London. If I need a little something to help me sleep, I'll take a sleeping pill and just wake me up when I get there. So I don't really do any of the the extras. Like I don't watch a movie. I don't have the dinner pre-flight drink on the plane. Like once I get on the plane, and I try and spend that time in the airport as kind of like I would wind down for bedtime. So trying to kind of mimic those steps so that I'm tricking my body's clock into thinking.
And that really worked when we were traveling with kids.
Yeah, that was huge.
We flew at their bedtime basically, and
yep, and they slept the whole way. I'm shocked.
They were better rested than we were.
I have pictures of our son sleeping like half on the seat, half off the seat. Like he's half standing and like his torso is like, but anybody who has toddlers or have been around toddlers know, don't move him. Just leave him. He's sleeping. He's fine. But anyway, so
But
here's the other half of that. It's really important when you land in Europe in the morning that you have breakfast, you act like you got a full night's sleep, because essentially you're gaslighting yourself. You're like, no, you're rested, you slept. And get outside in the sun. If it's not sunny, fine, take a walk outside. It's so important to help kind of reset your clock and move through the rhythm of your day as you would normally to help reset the clock. But the start to that is getting that last flight out.
yeah, and I would also say I have trouble sleeping on the planes, sitting up. I have a real problem with that. You know, sitting up at home in front of the TV, I have no problems falling asleep while we're watching something, but on a plane, I don't
A little sleeping pill, a little drink. No, I'm kidding.
I don't drink, so I'm just sitting there all excited for 8 hours, and
As I'm like snoring, right?
but the key thing is just to get some sleep,
Yeah,
because
even if you catnap, it's better than nothing.
yeah, it's better than nothing, because when you get there, and this is another tip that when someone mentioned this tip to me, I thought it was the most brilliant thing I ever heard. So one of the problems you have on transatlantic flights is that they all arrive either early in the morning or late morning because of the way that all the airlines do the flight timing. And so when you get there, you can't check into your hotel.
Nope.
Hotel check-in is until the afternoon, usually 3 or 4
They're
o'clock.
turning the rooms
They have
over.
to, yeah, they have to turn the rooms over. So, your flight gets, if you take the early afternoon flight in Chicago, which is at I think it's at 4:30, you're going to get to England right when Heathrow opens at 5 a.m. And what are you going to do?
We've done that.
We've done that, and it's not great. Because you get there and then you're like, well, what am I supposed to do for the next 8 hours until I can check into my hotel? I've got bags. I'm tired.
Yep, it's what is it? It's midnight my time.
Yeah.
I've just been through, I feel like so much, it's a little bit like going through a meat grinder.
Yeah, going through the airport.
Transatlantic travel, you're like, oh my God.
And so that's why we recommend the latest flight, because it puts you there later in the morning.
Yeah.
And so you have to kill less time to get to your hotel.
What was the tip?
But the tip is that oftentimes 2 things. One, let your hotel know that you need an early check-in.
Yeah.
And usually, oftentimes they will arrange the cleaning so that your room is cleaned first, so that your room is ready when you get there. Usually, like around noon or 1, much earlier.
Yeah, don't show up at 9 a.m. and expect your room. Like the person who slept in it the night before is probably still in it.
They don't want to leave because it's probably a nice hotel. and then, but the tip that someone mentioned is actually book your stay to include the night you're leaving the U.S. and then tell the hotel
you're coming in
that
early.
You're coming in early the next day, so you're not a no-show, so that the room is just there waiting for you. And
oh my God!
And if you're only paying a couple $100 for your hotel a night,
and you can afford it,
like the price would be worth it to get there, and your room is just sitting there waiting for you.
Oh my gosh! Because I'm sorry, I don't care which class you fly, which airline you fly. There is nothing better than when you finally get into your hotel room and you can shower.
Yeah.
Like, your body is weary, tired. I don't know about you, but I feel like every airport I've ever been through, and I'm not knocking airports or airlines, I'm like, I cannot wait to shower. Like, there's something about travel that I just feel is like, ugh. And like, yeah.
But
that's a good tip. That's a great tip.
Yeah, so actually, you could do that. Now, even if you happen to get your room early, danger traveler, don't nap.
Yes.
Right away.
No.
You can take a nap, but do it like in the afternoon, only for like an hour or 2. But
like 30 minutes to an hour tops.
You don't want to reset your clock then. You want to reset your clock at bedtime. So you just got to push till bedtime. 9 o'clock is perfectly acceptable.
I think like usually like you've given up the ghost by like 8.
Yeah.
I'm like, John, wake up. Wake up.
Turn a British TV show on and fall asleep to it, and you're good.
You're going to have to like stand up watching TV.
Yeah. And then you're going to wake up the next day and your clock will be normalized. Yeah. And I find actually jet lag is worse coming home than going, because we do this where we make sure we arrive rested and have that first day to do stuff.
Yeah, but also keeping in mind that if you have the ability, if you're going to be there long enough and you literally do not have to hit the ground running, that plan to do things outside. It will help your natural clock reset, but don't pack your day so full. Like, we had the opportunity, we flew once and then we came directly off the transatlantic flight with a group of folks, and we had to go directly to a business seminar. That a lot of thought and care was put into the business seminar, and it was really great information for our business. We were very honored to be part of that group that was having that experience. But like looking around the table, and it wasn't just us, like by noon we were all like, and they were serving us lovely food, so we were all warm and fed, and now we're stationary and sitting, and like that was, so be mindful of what you plan on your first day.
Yeah. And then usually after that first hard day, then your body kind of normalizes.
Yeah, at least for us.
At least for us. And the key is to get as much rest on the plane as you can.
Absolutely.
And don't nap as soon as you get into your hotel. And if you do take a nap, wait till the afternoon.
Late afternoon, like after 2:00.
Like she said, have a great breakfast when you get there. There are lots of great breakfast places.
Breakfast food is really important. Areas. Believe it or not, it cues something in the brain that
that this is morning and I'm ready for the day. Yep. And you just be like, oh man, I had a bad night's sleep, and that's
exactly that's how we treat it. Like it's
and drink copious amounts of tea.
Well, there are people who will disagree with you on the caffeine, but I agree with you on this one. Especially after that afternoon nap, you're like, oh, where's the kettle?
Tea time.
Yeah. So what's next on our list?
Okay, so let's see. We covered the hotel arrival problems, the different classes, taking the latest flight, sleeping on the plane. Don't be ashamed to buy over-the-counter sleep aids or a prescription sleep aid if you need it.
Yep.
Because we're Americans. Time is money. You want to make the most of your trip. You don't want to waste any time sleeping that you don't need to.
I will say this though. Pro tip: if it is a sleep aid that you have never taken before. Do not take it for the first time on the airplane.
Yeah.
Try it out when you're
only
in
what your body knows.
Like you do not want to have a medical emergency mid-flight. Not speaking from experience, but just saying, like, just be careful.
Let's see.
And be careful mixing it with alcohol at a high altitude as well.
Yeah.
Like when I was very, very young.
I wouldn't recommend an Ambien and some vodka.
I made that mistake. I had a sleeping pill and I had a drink on the plane, and I was flying from Paris. And I remember taking off in Paris, and then I was woken up. We had landed in Chicago. And that was the first, like, I was very, very, not very, very young. I was an adult, but I had no idea that learning experience. Don't do that.
Travel accessories to help make a flight better.
Yeah.
Eye mask.
Eye mask.
I mean, they'll give you one, but you might want to buy your own.
Yeah, I mean, or whatever. I mean, whatever works for you.
Noise canceling headphones. That's a biggie.
Yeah. A neck pillow.
Yeah.
So, okay. I used to see the folks with the neck pillow in the airport, and number one, it used to gross me out because I'm like, that thing went through the x-ray machine, it's been sitting on surfaces, and now you're going to put your face on it. Ugh. But we had a flight within the past 5 years where we flew transatlantically overnight, took the last flight, and we were sleeping. We were in coach. We were comfortable enough, and we hit turbulence and I don't, like, I was sleeping, and I was sleeping with my head on my shoulder. And I just remember the feeling of like being lifted out of the seat, like a feeling of weightlessness. And I was asleep, so I wasn't like conscious of what was going on. And my neck shot back, and I ended up with whiplash. I mean, like it was really bad. Like I had to see the doctor when I got back to the States, and it was just, and I was in pain the whole trip. It was awful.
Yeah,
so now,
wow, yeah.
Neck pillows. Yes, okay, now I get it. I'm sorry for being smug and judgmental. Now I get it. So, invest in a good neck pillow. I will say this, though. I will probably put my neck pillow in my carry-on because, like, the thought of it touching all the surfaces is, like, it really grosses me out. But a good neck pillow, now I know, like, now I will probably never take an overnight transatlantic flight without one because I'm probably prone to re-injure what I had originally injured, but now I know.
Yeah. That was when we went to Ireland, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was for work.
Yep.
Yeah, noise canceling headphones. Where are you on the AirPods versus over-the-ear headphones debate?
I like AirPods. I will say this. This is the one thing I will say about it. I have flown enough with both. I find for me to lean against something more comfortably, AirPods work. I have also seen airplanes literally being ripped apart when one tumbles out of your ear because your ear canal shrinks and expands as you come up and down. I still use it. I still prefer an AirPod, but that's just me.
I think I'm more of a over-the-ear headphones guy. I like my Bose Quiet Comfort.
But
Um,
you have an issue like
Sometimes I'll get a headache.
well, and then it makes you a little airsick, and I have to wonder if it's the noise
It
cancellation,
might
like the
be.
way that that works for you. Like, I don't know.
If you're looking for audio quality, I think it sounds better over the ear.
Oh yeah,
The
you
noise
take
can't.
those off, and like you
Yeah,
can hear the roar of the engines, and you're like, oh my gosh,
yeah.
it's so
The
loud.
noise canceling on AirPods isn't great. It's just
Actually,
okay.
it's not too bad. I mean, it still
But
definitely reduces the noise.
ours are a few generations old. That might be better now. I don't
Oh,
know.
I don't
We've
know.
had
And
ours for
there's
a
so many
while.
different makers too
Yeah.
now these days. So what were we talking about? Gadgets or tips for being comfortable?
Gadgets for comfort. So I also advocate bringing your own entertainment.
Yep.
So, and this is more for going back for the return flight, which is usually in the daytime. Um, I pack my iPad full of TV shows to watch and movies because you can never really rely on the in-flight entertainment to either a work or have something you really want to watch.
Well, and I think it's funny from when we started traveling, there was no in-seat in-flight entertainment
Yeah,
where the screen's in front and the seat behind you. And now
they're
like
taking
they
it back
got
out.
bigger and now they're starting to take them out
Yeah,
again because
people
most people bring
prefer
their
their
own
own
device.
bring their own device, and also you don't need to use their in-flight Wi-Fi because you've got everything on your device already. And I like to have the screen
Yeah,
because I like to watch the map.
while you're supposed to be sleeping.
So I'll have the iPad below the map. I can watch
Right? It's
both.
like, "Hey babe, babe, we crossed Iceland." And I'm like, "What? That's great. Let me sleep." But you know one that everybody loves and I can't quite I want to, but a water bottle. Like a resealable water bottle where you dump it out before security and then you like refill at the and then you have the water on the flight. I've tried to do that several times and I
I'd
just
rather just carry a water bottle. I bought it, spent $8 on in the
yeah, you know,
airport.
maybe it's like a plastics thing, but
Yeah.
every airport water fountain I've ever used, I've been like, oh, I'm good. But
Well, and it's just another thing to carry.
I don't mind. I don't mind like reducing my footprint, but the water has got to be like.
So the next tip is snacks.
Are we going
So
to talk about dressing for comfort? Is that on our list?
that was the next one.
Okay, sorry, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves.
So bringing snacks. So I'm a very picky eater, as she will attest.
That's an understatement. I don't.
And
You are an extremely picky eater.
I've gotten better over the years.
Yes, yes, but for most folks, it levels on extreme.
And let's face it, and then you would probably even agree with me on this. Most airplane food is not good.
Like if you're riding in coach,
Yeah, it's not good.
and I don't,
It's
we're not talking about any particular airline.
Yeah.
We're not talking about any routes. We're making a generalized statement. It can range from meh to what is that?
Yeah, to children sick. It's like,
Oh, John.
no.
Yeah, I mean, we have definitely been on some flights where you're like,
What? No.
is that food?
Yeah.
Like, well, the main. It's usually the main. Whatever
Yeah.
comes in the hot, like in coach at least, it usually comes in like a little hot foil pocket, kind of like reminiscent of a really small TV dinner. But usually the other things on the tray will be okay, like a little bit of salad or
bread
cheese or a little bit of dessert.
Sometimes the dessert's all right.
But
And I don't know about you, but my appetite gets suppressed on a plane. I don't get as hungry as I always think I'm going to be on a plane. And I'll pick at the food, but well, my recommendation is to bring some snacks that you like and don't buy them in the airport because like you're going to overpay.
yeah, with the
I
exception of a banana.
yeah.
You always buy a banana.
Because you know why? Because I eat a banana every day. So when I get off the plane and I get there, having a banana is like a great way to like reset my body.
Well, and a pro tip, if you have nausea too, a banana is super high in potassium. This is I learned from having horrible morning sickness. It's higher in potassium and can help settle the stomach and curb nausea.
Well, I also recommend bringing protein bars
Yeah.
because they're very filling. I can't remember the name of the ones I like.
They have a peanut on the front of it.
Yeah, they're really good. And
Is it like a peanut butter
there are
or
enough
something?
calories they can pass for a dinner or a breakfast and a crunch. So I pick some up before we leave and just keep them in my bag in case anything I eat is not edible, I can just grab it, eat it, and be good.
Well, and I think we've found what really works well, at least, like it, I don't know. There's something different about a road trip. Like a road trip, it's fun to like sometimes get like some of the junk food and like, cause you're road tripping, it's fun. An airplane is not the time to do that. So
Yeah, you don't want
like,
to upset your stomach.
exactly. So I'm kind of lame in that I try and bring like healthier things. Fruit, you have to buy in the airport. I think somebody said you can cut up an apple and bring an apple through. I've never like tried to do that. I usually bring like prepackaged things. Remember, if you're packing a snack, the liquid rule. So I know
Yeah.
like Campbell's used to have those sippable soups. They might still make those. Like you can't take that through,
And those rules will be changing soon.
but a lot of like, dry cereal is great, crackers, cookies, granola. Those are great things. And we find that not only for breakfast, or sorry, they feed you dinner and then you sleep, and then right before you land in London, they'll usually feed you a light breakfast. So it might be a croissant or a breakfast sandwich or a muffin or something like that, and yogurt. They almost always serve yogurt. But it's nice to like, honest to God, Pop Tarts.
Yeah.
Like I know they're junk food.
It's a great calorie
but
injection.
those are great for breakfast on the plane in a jam. Like you're like, I'm starving and I don't know what or whatever I've been served for breakfast is really unappetizing. So think things like that, things that are shelf stable that you can bring through security.
Next tip is clothing and comfort.
I have so much to say about this.
Well, then I will let you lead.
So,
Bow to your fashion knowledge.
oh no. So we were just talking about this because, I grew up when I grew up, we couldn't afford to fly. I went everywhere in the US in the back of a car, and I'm very grateful for that, but we didn't fly. And so flying was something that was looked at as something very fancy. And, back in the day, flying was very fancy. Like you dressed up to go on an airplane. And I've since been very fortunate to be able to go back and forth to England and travel for business and that sort of thing. And, I've always not dressed up, but been very presentable on the plane. That I could step off the plane and essentially start doing, I'm dressed for business casual. And I even remember our first flight. Like, I had on a suit jacket and a pair of jeans and a belt and a heeled boot, and this was very of the time. But I remember being so incredibly uncomfortable. And, you know, I've always like, and I'm not making a judgment on anybody else. I'm talking about myself and what I prefer to wear out. It is very rare that I am out in public in general in a pair of sweats, unless I'm either working out or I've undergone a medical procedure. It's just not who I am. However, the flight that we took to Ireland, I knew it was going to be an overnight flight. I knew we were flying coach. I knew I was going to be uncomfortable. So I did a little research and I found like a matching, like J. Crew made like a matching sweater set. And I put a button down under it and I paired it with a pair of really nice flat, like little white sneakers. Those were still very in at that time. And so I looked presentable. Would I got off the plane and done business? No, but had I had to meet a business contact off the plane, I still would have been presentable enough in my comfortable kind of, I don't want to say it's a sweatsuit, I don't know what, lounge suit, that I didn't look sloppy. I took great care with my hair and my makeup to not look sloppy. I'm being very long-winded in saying that my attitude on this has changed quite a bit over my years of travel. John mentioned we're traveling in October. And I'm already thinking like for the overnight portions of the flight, like I will probably do the same thing again because it was literally life changing. Just being comfortable, you're gonna be uncomfortable enough, most folks, at least in a coach seat. They're small, you're upright, like, really upright most of the time.
Thousands of people have sat in it, so it's not exactly the most soft surface in
Exactly.
the world.
And we are both a little claustrophobic, and, when you really get kind of packed into that plane, you're like, "Oh." So, just being comfortable, not wearing things that are constricting, that are tight, like, I used to fly in a heel for work, like, I don't even mess with that, and just the anyway, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I've always been in the camp that you should look a little presentable on
Always.
a flight because
And
never know when you're going to meet somebody famous.
well, and you still should look presentable. You can
and
dress comfortably,
and I'm the kind of guy that I won't leave the house in my pajamas or sweatpants. Like
and
that's
we're
not
not
me.
judging other people.
When I leave the house, I get dressed.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely thinking about even how uncomfortable I am right now in my jeans sitting in this chair. I'm like, I don't think I want to sit for 8 hours in these jeans on a plane. I think I'm gonna join Team Sweatpants on the flight this time
Yeah,
in October.
well, it's not just team lounge.
Yeah, lounge wear, more comfortable.
Yeah, and
And
yeah, you actually tried on some loungewear this weekend, and
yeah,
I
it
think,
looked very stylish because it was fancy lounge wear.
well, but I think the key to that is that making sure it's clean, making sure that it's well fitting, like, still take the time and the care for your makeup and your hair, or your like, it's not a slumber party, but
Well, and I think one tip I have as well is to put a shirt, change of a shirt in your
that's a
bag.
big one for you.
And because I get very hot very easily, and it's
Yeah,
like you don't want to be around me. So
it's Sweaty Betty.
when I land, I will change my shirt and freshen up in the airport bathroom before I have to, meet British people.
And the folks of Britain, thank you. Just go
Um,
comfortable, like,
Comfortable.
oh, and slip-on shoes.
Yeah, slip-on shoes definitely because for one, that's what we didn't talk about. Getting through security. If you got a belt, you gotta take a belt off. If you got shoes that tie, you gotta untie them and tie them. Like slip-on shoes and no
Don't
belt.
go through security barefoot.
Oh God, yes.
Oh, I see it like all the time, and I'm always like, "Ugh, gross." Like, no, no,
That's where
no.
that's where pandemics start in movies is at the airport.
Oh my god. Yeah, we're not gonna. I just can't even be in that headspace. Like, but yeah, I mean, just like, take a mental checklist before you leave for the airport. Like, are you gonna be quick in line, or are you wearing a really cool, like, leather jacket that has like 48 buttons that all have to be undone?
Yeah.
Because I promise you, they're gonna make you take your jacket off, right?
Yeah.
Oh, another thing, your carry-on.
Well, that's actually the next topic.
No.
It's almost like you read these in advance.
Oh boy, did not really. Even though you sent them to me in advance.
Yeah, so we are big advocates of carry-on only travel.
Yes, where
However,
possible.
where possible now in October, because we're going to a business conference where I have to be in a suit for 3 days in a row. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do carry-on only travel. We have to break our streak, which is like 10 trips of
I
carry-on only.
know.
But
We've checked coming back though.
yeah, well, because what we do, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
So carry-on only travel is, especially going, is the best way to do it. And our logic comes from having had our bags lost a couple of times over the years.
Lost or
You know,
searched or like.
because nothing is worse than when you get there and then you're already jet lagged from the journey. You're tired. You're standing at the conveyor belt, and your bag. You watch all the bags come out and
Or like
around,
you've been standing there for an hour and you're like, oh my god.
your bag doesn't appear, and then the conveyor belt stops because all the bags are off the plane. And your bag's not there,
And it's
then,
like 3 a.m. on your
Yeah.
clock, and you've just taken, you feel like you've been like jammed into a
Yeah.
Pringles can coming over, and
It's-
you're like, oh, and my bag's not here.
it's the
Great.
worst because then not only do you have to deal with the airport and the staff to find your bag, like it's going to be a day or two before your bag turns up.
If your bag
if your bag turns up. A big innovation that we haven't talked about is putting an air tag in
Yeah.
your bag, so
I know
so
airlines really don't like
they don't
that.
like it, but then you know where your bag is.
Yeah.
And But nothing's worse than having to leave the airport with nothing, and then having to go buy clothes, buy toiletries,
Yep, we've
buy
been
like,
there, done
and yeah, the airline in theory is supposed to reimburse you, but good luck.
Well, good luck at again, right? It's 6 a.m.
Yeah.
You've landed, and I will say, I believe in treating all people with dignity and respect. Am I my very best at 3 a.m. on my clock and my bag's not here? No. But I will tell you, customer service in England is way different than customer service in the US. I learned that one real fast. Just a
Well,
lot younger
and
too.
so when we switched to carry on only, and I'm gonna be real here.
Yeah.
Mostly this was a bigger thing for you because you would pack a giant suitcase with multiple outfit combinations.
But you know what though?
And but once you saw the light switch to carry on only, you like were like, this is the only way I want to travel.
Well, to your point, when we were very young, we would travel and we'd stay at Easy Hotel. And when we were in college, and Easy Hotel is literally if you're lucky, a 12 by 12 box. There's a bed and a wet room. And it worked for us because we were students, we were traveling cheap, but I had this huge piece of luggage in the room. We would literally have to be stepping over my luggage. And then
Getting it over the cobbles is always fun.
oh yeah, that's a great time. And then I think the last time we really packed away was when we took the kids when they were toddlers.
That was a lot of fun.
And that we had so much luggage because we were taking a 6-month-old and a 2-year-old over Christmas. So, we had
5 weeks.
Santa stuff and all and I'm I never and we rented an Audi wagon, right?
And the bags wouldn't fit, and it was a wagon.
And we had a stroller and we had the car
Yeah,
seat.
it
It
was
was
a
just,
nightmare.
I was like, never again. Travel as light as possible.
Yeah, I think after that, two things happened. One, we stopped traveling with our kids to England,
Yeah.
and two, we switched to carry on only if we could help it.
So, yeah, carry on only if you can help it. So women are allowed to carry on and usually a briefcase and or a purse. My pro tip for that is just make sure, do a test, at home before you leave. Literally try and pack your bag and then sit it on your lap and limit your movement. Can you get your stuff out of your bag easily? If you can, great. If you can't, then that's not the yeah.
And also don't have to expand the expander in your luggage going.
Yeah, that's a rookie mistake.
Yeah, because then you're not gonna have any space for coming back, and that's where our next tip comes in.
Love this one.
We pack a collapsible duffel bag in the bag, and then what we'll do is that's for all the souvenirs or the clothes that
dirty clothes a lot of times.
Dirty clothes, and on the way home we'll check that bag, and we don't care if it gets lost. I mean, we care, but if it gets lost, we're not going to lose anything that we're
coming
miss.
Home to where the rest of our wardrobe and toiletries are.
So anyway, I do the duffel bag trick.
That saved us so many
if you have to check a bag, and then check it on the way home. And
worst case scenario, if you're packing and you're you're really in trouble, Tesco, or not Tesco, is it Tesco where we went and they always have cheap suitcases or cheap duffel bags?
Yeah, any department store or
a little or
what's it called? Service merchandise equivalent.
Oh,
what's it called?
It's not Asda, that's Walmart.
No, it's and the name escapes me, but that has come in really handy because it's they get a suitcase for 20 quid and then you can load it up.
Or you can do Amazon and have it delivered to your hotel.
And another thing is I buy a lot of books.
Oh, it's a good tip.
When we travel. And so what I'll do is most of the bookstores the big bookstores will ship your books back to the US.
Yep.
So, because I have no self-control, so I'll go to Hatchard's and buy 20 books. And they will mail them for me for a small fee.
Well, and what's lovely about that is
we don't have to carry them on the plane.
But even better,
or check them because it's overweight.
You get home and then you settle back in, and then before you know it,
a week
you get this lovely care package
from yourself from back in time. It's a nice little treat.
Yeah.
And I know and one thing we even did once, we got a prepaid DHL box from the Royal Mail Post Office
What did we send back?
and loaded it up with stuff and mailed the box with our souvenirs and the gifts that were given to us by our friends.
Oh, that was the Christmas trip.
And we just put it through in the box. And
well, because it was tracked and that kind of thing, and because that mattered.
It was really
to us.
affordable. It was like £50 to ship it back to the U.S., and then we didn't have to worry about
it. Well, and because we had 2 kids, like the amount of luggage we had was stupid. Like, so. Yeah. But pro tip: if you can go carry-on only, it's worth it. You know, the British toiletries that you have to buy when you go, like they're great quality.
Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of people say, well, what about all my products that I need for my personal care? Well,
there's a whole island who does grooming on their own. Yeah,
they do grooming too. They have drugstores that have almost the equivalent of everything, if not the same things that you would have back home, and that you're better off just spending 20 quid to pick it up there,
right? Rather than having to
get the little bottles and put all the stuff in the right size bottles and pack them into your carry-on. But get it there; you'll be fine.
Pro tip though, too,
you get the fun experience of going into the store and figuring it out.
If you've not traveled transatlantically and you are going to check a bag and you are going to put your toiletries like full size or whatever,
they have to be in the carry-on thing so that you can show them.
No, not for your carry-on. If you're going to put the full size stuff in your like suitcase that you're going to check, wrap it in plastic, put it in like double plastic, like put it in a beeswax bag or something to collect. Because with the pressure of the airplane, I have learned that lesson painfully. Conditioner does stain, and everything is greasy and gross. Like, I have been there and done that.
So the final tip, I would say, is to remember that the flight is temporary. This is not your permanent state. It will end, and then you'll be in England. So whether you're flying from LA and it's going to be almost 12 hours, or you're flying from New York, it's going to be 5 hours, or you're flying from Chicago, it's going to be 7 hours. Time passes quickly, and you're going at 600 miles an hour. The flight is going to end eventually. And that's very important to remember, because the older I get, the more claustrophobic I get.
Same.
And I get very, not quite panic attacky on planes, but I get very tight. I get very
anxious.
I get very anxious, and you can tell. That's why I start sweating. It's not fun, and that's why I have to sit on the aisle. That's why I prefer wide body planes where there's more space. And I just have to remember, and you have to tell yourself that this flight is going to end in a few hours, and then you'll be in England.
Well, and we've been on some flights that we've had really great flights too, because I feel like all we're really talking about is kind of the bad and the ugly. We've been on really amazing flights too, where it was smooth sailing the whole way. Yep. We've been very lucky, like nobody's in the seat next to us, or we've been upgraded or that kind of thing. But we've also been on some flights that have just been hellacious. Like
when the bathroom breaks.
Oh my God. That was we were literally on a flight once, true story, because this is what people really do want to hear, is kind of the ugliness. We will not share the name of the carrier. We were on the flight and the toilet not only leaked, but backed up and leaked down the aisle, and we were the seat in front of the bathroom.
Smell. I'll never forget the smell.
The smell was... and what are you going to do? Yeah. There was nowhere to move us. They could not move us. The plane was full. Yeah. It was a situation. I think the airline actually did credit us, because it was so...
It was like 20 years ago.
I would have to be seriously medicated to handle that now, but that's kind of my own personal issue. We've been on flights too, where...
The in-flight entertainment was broken the entire 9 hours we were on the airplane.
Yeah, we've done that.
So if you didn't have an iPad or a book, you were staring into space.
Literally. We also, do you remember the flight we had the guy in front of us? Because if you come in very early to Heathrow, you kind of do these loop-de-loops as you get in line. And the guy in front of us was really airsick, and he couldn't help it. God, I was green behind the gills. Watching this guy get it was a really bad situation, really bad, and I was just let me off this plane if I have to land it myself. Like, let me off this plane. Like, I could not, like,
Yeah.
and I'm not like being that entitled American woman, but it literally, I was panicking. Like, oh my God, like, we've also been on really bumpy flights too. And that's something that we probably should mention about transatlantic
Yeah.
flights
Turbulence.
is they're saying that turbulence has gotten worse or is continuing to
Yeah,
get
because of
worse.
climate change.
So
Because
whether
the
you
Gulf Stream is shifting.
like, I guess anyway, keep your seatbelt on. They really do mean it. Like
Yeah.
the trip to Ireland that we went on, had I not been in my seatbelt,
Yeah,
I was very lucky that was the worst of my injury.
Yeah.
Like there were other people on the plane that bumped their heads and like, nobody sought medical attention on the tarmac, but people were knocked around a little bit. And so, really do wear your seatbelt and I think the biggest thing, like if I leave our audience with one piece of advice, it is be polite to the flight crew. Like they're stuck on the plane too. Yes, it's their job, but they are not. Yes, they are there to serve you, but they are not servants. Like be kind, be respectful. If you can get up and go to the galley and get a glass of water, you don't need to call them every 20 minutes. It's the surefire way to have a bad flight, I would argue. If you mistreat the flight staff, now everybody on the plane knows that you're a pain in the butt and you're not going to have a great time.
Yeah, you don't want to end up one of those people duct taped to their seat as a landing.
Oh man.
And one final thing is this whole conversation has been focused on going over. Let's talk real quick about coming back from England, because it's a much different flying experience, because for several reasons. One, the flight is longer because you're going against the Gulf Stream. So like our flight to Chicago will usually be 9 or 10 hours.
And I think you could say the same, like if you're flying out of Paris or you're flying out of Germany, or it's a couple more hours.
It takes longer because of the wind and everything. So it takes longer, and because they have to position those planes to do the overnight flights from the U.S., they're leaving Europe in the afternoon,
late afternoon usually,
the morning of the afternoon.
Right, yeah. Sorry.
So like our flight coming home in October will be at 3:45 in the afternoon. So like it's a daytime flight, and I applaud people who can manage to sleep on a daytime flight at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You do you, but that's the flight for me. Those are the kind of flights where it's most important to bring things to entertain yourself. So load that iPad up, bring some of the books you bought while you were traveling, have music queued up on your phone, plan to watch at least 3 or 4 movies on the in-flight entertainment system, depending on where you're going, because you're there for a while and it feels longer.
It does.
Because the plane has to go slower, so you feel like you're going slower.
Well, and then usually by the time, we're like halfway across the Atlantic, at least for me, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to be off the plane now. I would like to get home. And
that's why snacks are important too.
Yeah, definitely.
Because going, you have that adrenaline of excitement of going, that you're like everything kind
That's you. I'm just like
everything kind of just fades away, and you're not that hungry. You're just so excited to be going home. You're like, I'm depressed that I had to leave England, so now I have to sit here for 9 hours. I'm not happy. So focus on your happiness.
I bring my knitting.
Yeah, you knit.
I knit, or I'll read. I'll watch a mini series. So if you want to binge a mini series,
that's a great time.
Great time to binge a mini series.
Yeah.
And what's important for a daytime flight, and I know we're gonna get in the comments, it's important on every flight. Get up and walk around.
Yeah.
Do yourself a favor, especially on a daytime flight. Stretch your legs. Be respectful. Don't be where you're not supposed to be on the plane, but stretch your legs a little bit every couple of hours. I have to, because in a daytime flight, it's the weirdest thing. In a daytime flight, I swell. In a nighttime flight, I swell a little bit, but not as bad. So.
And if you're gonna be focusing on your entertainment, be sure to bring a battery bank, because what will happen is, like me, you'll watch 9 out of 10 episodes of The Expanse one time and get all the way and have enough time on your flight to watch the final episode.
You're like, crossing Nova Scotia, and the iPad goes.
But the iPad or the computer just goes dead, and then You have to, because it's going to be a bit before you can watch it, because you got to get home and you got to love your family and visit with them.
Yeah.
It's going to be a while before you can watch that episode. So bring that battery bank.
Oh, that's sad. I
So,
will say too, be mindful of the entertainment that that you
yeah. Oh my
watch.
God.
Um,
Yeah. Don't watch Eyes Wide Shut on a plane. I know it's a Christmas movie, but
yeah, I was once on a flight and I saw somebody watching The Wolf of Wall Street on an
oh
airplane.
my God.
It's
It's a great
it's a
movie.
great movie.
Yeah. Not
Is
on
it
the,
appropriate to watch in an airplane when you have children standing or sitting behind you? No, probably not. Well, not probably not. As a mom, no. But just be mindful that people can see your screen.
yeah.
The stories. The stories. I will not share those stories, but the stories.
And then you also have the fun thing of trying to sync your screen to your traveling partner's screen,
Oh, we've
so
done
so
that.
you can watch the same
We'll
thing.
share an AirPod.
Yeah, so you can watch the same thing. Because you got to pass the time somehow.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, well,
Well,
I think we will wrap it up there because I think we covered everything that was on the outline. Way to go, us! Reminder at the end here to please join the Friends of Anglotopia Club
mhm.
and listen to us 2 days before everybody else. Support great writing about British travel and culture, and join a group of dedicated people who love all things British. So, with that, we will end the discussion there. Bye bye.